Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Loretta for our musical prelude. And I want to thank all the people who have helped put this meeting together, and it has taken a village. I won't name all the names, but they know who they are. And thank you so much for all your help. Our first item on our agenda is to remember those who have passed since our last meeting.
Now let us take a moment of silence as we remember. Let us remember Jesse Black. Before we pray, I share with you some words by Howard Thurman. It's an excerpt from his meditation titled Surrounded by the Love of God. It seems fitting to read it today, still in Black History Month, and also for many Christians who are practicing Lent right now, a time where more time and energy and effort is put towards self-reflection and prayer. Here's the reading. Whatever may be the tensions and stresses of a particular day, there is always lurking close at hand the trailing beauty of forgotten joy and unremembered peace. Let us pray. May each of us gathered this morning in person, in the auditorium or the rotunda, or through watching on broadcast, may we set aside the tensions and stresses of the day. May we be enlightened to see that lurking close at hand is the trailing beauty of forgotten joy and unremembered peace. O God, whose love surrounds us, as we remember Jesse Black, we also pray for his wife, family, friends, neighbors. We ask that you comfort all who are grieving today, that they might reflect and find and know the trailing beauty of forgotten joy and unremembered peace. For those many Christians who are observing Lent right now, we pray that this will be a season of growing closer to God and of becoming more aware of how we might better love ourselves and love our neighbors. We ask for your blessings on the task that is before this Residents Association today and all throughout the month. Bless their efforts with clear insight, their deliberations with wisdom, their work with clarity and accuracy, and their decisions with impartiality. May they act wisely, may they act well, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Nola, for those beautiful thoughts. I would like to thank also Christine Woods Henderson, who has put together a beautiful book of Lenten meditations. And if you'd like one of those, they're in the outside Suzette's office. Now we'd like to get our approval of our January minutes. Those of you who have checked with your area representatives know where they're kept, and at this time I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the January minutes. Second? All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Thank you. Now we'll have introduction of our new residents. I don't know how in the world we're going to do this when we get 359 more people, but I'm sure somebody is working on that right now to figure it out. But today we'd like to welcome our new resident.
Good morning. I want to introduce Sue and Fred Harley. They moved all the way from their home in Lockmere to Wheelock Drive in the rush of the Christmas holidays. Although their home never went on the market since Fred III and wife purchased their home of 28 years, I don't think they found this an easy move, but I don't think anybody else does either. So Sue tells us that she brought along enough brushes and paints to open a store. Along came her many needlework supplies and finished projects. Fred brought along a collection of antique cars, and they are gorgeous. After retiring from a long career with IBM, Fred began buying, restoring, and refurbishing antique cars, an interest born while growing up in Detroit. His hobby included a 1917 Ford Model T, a 1930 Ford Model A, a 1911 Buick, and a 1915 Buick that won awards. He and Sue enjoyed days of touring in these old classics, but he admits that breakdowns were a given, but a part of the adventure. During one of my first conversations with Fred, he mentioned that he no longer needed his pickup truck to pull these antiques. I was delighted to purchase his red Nissan, now seen in the parking lot, soon to be loaded with our kayaks. Sue found her organizational skills and love for education a perfect fit for the years she spent in the office of a Montessori school while they were living in Connecticut. We know that IBM stands for I've Been Moved. It's not easy to identify her accent since she has moved frequently all her life. She was born in San Antonio, where her father was stationed in the Air Force. Sue and Fred graduated from Northwestern University, but didn't meet until later in Washington, D.C. Their 3 adult children all live on the East Coast. They describe their 6 wonderful grandchildren as a blessing and are pleased that they are each within a day's drive, unless you're driving an antique car. Then the drive may be longer. We see Sue coming and going frequently from their cottage across from ours on North Wheelock. It seems that she has not hesitated in engaging in activities here at Glen Eyre and continues with her bridge club of many years. Both Sue and Fred are happy not to be maintaining a big house and yard. They have enjoyed making new friends, and Sue adds the delight in not preparing every meal. Fred pops over now and then when I got the truck in the driveway. He just wants to pet it, I think. So welcome to Sue and Fred Harley.
I'm Diane Valuch. This is Diane Austin. She's been here about a month. She moved from Raleigh. She was raised in Atlanta and went to Emory University. Her husband went to Duke. He was her high school sweetheart. They were married 10 days after he graduated from Duke. His work brought him to Atlanta in 1965, and they've been here since, to Raleigh. Pardon me, not Cary, Raleigh. Diane was the first hire for the prior Glen Eyre. It wasn't named Glen Eyre at that time. She worked from 1990 to 1995 for Glen Eyre. And her mother was admitted to the assisted living 1 month after it opened. So she is a second generation. She loves it here, I'm sure. And it was interesting for me to note, even though we had no ground on which to build the then Glen Eyre, there were 200 people on the waiting list.
I am pleased to introduce Mary Ann Wanamaker, who lives on the 3rd floor of the 2000 building. I had to condense the incredible amount of information that Mary Ann gave me, so I hope that you will take the opportunity to talk with her in a more intimate setting and fill in all the gaps, because she's had a very interesting life. She was born in Washington, D.C., and spent her growing up years in Oklahoma and then in New Orleans, where she met her husband, Wade, at Tulane. Then they began a very peripatetic life, living in Georgia, South Carolina, Arkansas, Michigan, New York, Massachusetts, with each of their 4 children being born in a different state and graduating in a different state. While living in Massachusetts, they also offered themselves as a foster family for 2 sets of children. In 1970, Mary Ann decided that it would be a wise idea to be able to support her family, because they had had a terrible automobile accident that put all of them in the hospital, and she anticipated what the future might be like. And so she studied nursing, and she continued this throughout her career with a focus on addiction counseling. After they settled in Raleigh, Mary Ann worked with the battered women's shelter and served as a guardian ad litem, which is a service that works with foster children or children who've been removed from their families for one reason or another in the justice system. She's also enjoyed tutoring children, and Peggy Pothast, you can make a note of that. Mary Ann and her family spent many summers at their cabin on an inland lake in southwest Michigan, which gives them some connection with Sue and Fred Harley, who have done the same thing. And after retirement, she and Wade bought a motorhome and traveled all around the States and Canada. Glen Eyre has always been in their future plans, and their intention was to split their time between Michigan and Glen Eyre. So Mary Ann's done a lot of interesting things and had a very interesting life, and I hope you have an opportunity to visit with her. And she is very grateful for the very warm welcome she has received here at Glen Eyre.
What interesting people. Great place to live with all these interesting folks. I hope you'll get to know them. Now we move on to our treasurer's reports. And I will say, last month I made a joke about how money wasn't interesting. And I'm so sorry. And I thought Bill Smith was going to come in some costume today to be jolly about money, but I did find this little cartoon for him. So we'll have the treasurer's report from him, and then, of course, the Glen Eyre financial report from Paul Brunswick, our financial analyst. So we'll have those two reports, and here they are.
You're right. My plan was to bring my bathrobe, my stocking cap, and punch the buttons and let you read it all while I slept up here. But I decided I wouldn't do that. Not get you into all of that. Here we go. Does that look familiar? It does, except for a few of the numbers that have changed slightly. Once again, we are succeeding mightily here in the association with our funds. We're sitting with $71,000 in the operating account at the bank, another $28,000 in the employees' appreciation fund, and our mighty money market account remains stable at $15,000, giving us $114,000 available. And of the funds that we have, our budget for the year for the association was $35,440, of which we have another $30,279 remaining for the committees to spend for the rest of the year, and that which has already been approved. We have our $5,000 to fend off the bank should our account become low. I don't anticipate that. And again, the appreciation fund remains, so that we've got restricted $63,000, giving us a mighty $51,000 available for other uses not yet determined. And I might point out, though, that this little device comes to each of us at no added cost. I will report, however, that there is a cost to you if you fail to have it when you need it. The delay in assistance time could be one that adds considerable to your depleted finances. Anyway, remember that. It's not like a bathrobe, but it's something different. Moving on, however, we will find that, well, I'm supposed to look that way. Creative Arts has brought in $944. The gift shop, $5,000 has been transferred to us. About $8,000 has come in from the yard sale, giving a $13,800 input to the Treasury, while spending only $5,100 so far this fiscal year, for a net gain of $8,700. And going on, for those who wonder, well, where is that $5,000 spent? And for those of you on committees, you can look up there and see your committee and where it has been spent. I shan't go over all of that. That is my report. If there are questions, I'll let you wait and ask them to someone else. Meanwhile, I'll get my bathrobe and return to sleep.
Have to give Bill time to change. Okay, this is financial report for the 2-month period ending November 30th of our new fiscal year, 2023. We're off to a good start, so Jan, you should have given me some green happy guy on here too. But this is the second straight month that we've been favorable to budget in operating income. And that is because revenue was $20,000 under budget. Just that was a very small amount. This is year to date for the 2 months. And we have a shortfall in assisted living, and it was offset by overages in skilled nursing, which is a good sign because last year that was a little slow getting started. The expenses are favorable to budget by $95,000. And that included a one-time adjustment in our property insurance, so I don't think we'll continue that much ahead on that, at least for that reason. So that nets an operating income being $75,000 ahead of budget after 2 months, which is the first time we've achieved that in several years, I think. Cash investments are $20,800,000, and that excludes the deposits on the new building. That money has to stay in escrow, and it can't be included in any of our financial ratios. The foundation has an additional $7.6 million, so we're in pretty good shape, notwithstanding the $4.5 million loss we absorbed last year in the stock market. And outstanding debt is at $152, and that is going up as we have used up our bond revenue, and now are using a bridge loan with the bank until we can finish the construction, and then that will be paid off with the entrance fees that we will receive on or about October, sometime thereafter. Next category is entry fee receipts, which is a key factor in our cost profit model. It's behind budget, $673,000 compared to $792 year-to-date budget, and a total year budget of $4.7 million. Last year we blew way by that. I think we beat that by $1.2 million, and that was really helped, especially when we had the situation with the market that we did. Purchase of fixed assets for the 2 months are $15 million, and somebody in the finance committee says, "Well, we're really spending a lot of money." Well, we're heavy into the building now, and that's compared actually more than we expected to spend the first 2 months. And our total for the year is $76 million. Now that includes about $4.5 million of operating capital expenditures, and the balance is for the expansion building. Charity care is at 3.09%. It has to be 5%, but that's nothing to be alarmed about because most of that is made at the end of the year when we do adjustments on certain categories that are allowed to be included. Financial ratios remain strong, even though the cash is that we have sitting there in escrow can't be excluded, and are well above the covenants required by the bank. Cash on hand is 331 days compared to 367 with the budget, and with the foundation included, that 331 goes up to 453. Our cash investment debt to date is 13.66%. And with the foundation included, that ratio increases to 18.67. That's very low, but here again, that's because for technical reasons we can't include the operations or the cash for the new expansion deposits. Are there any questions? If not, we'll turn it over to Jane.
Actually, I did have a really cute cartoon for you. And you see, where Bill has our report in thousands of dollars, you notice that Paul's report is in millions of dollars. So he has a big bag of money. Okay, next on our agenda is Mike Davis, who's going to talk a little bit about the bylaws, which we're going to vote on in just a few minutes. Mike.
Excuse me, I'm going to talk very little about it because you've heard a lot about it and you know a lot about it. So just by way of reminder of the bylaw ad hoc work group, I'm sorry, is that all right? The bylaw ad hoc work group was myself, David Bookout, Joyce Laughlin, and Marilyn Assay, who did part of her work while she sailed through the Panama Canal. We were appointed by Ed Clayton in the spring of 2022 to prepare amendments needed to accommodate the expansion project and to rewrite the bylaws of the Glen Eyre Residents Association. Over the last year, as you know, we worked with you, the residents, to develop a set of new bylaws. We're here this morning to ask that you approve those. So here's our resolution that we offer in the form of a motion. Resolved to approve the amendment and restated bylaws in the form, February 4th, 2023 draft, posted on the CareMerge electronic portal on February 6th, 2023, written notice of which was given to residents on February 8th, 2023, in resident mailboxes and on CareMerge, such bylaws to become effective immediately upon approval. A copy of the approved amendment and restated bylaws shall be attached to the minutes of the Residents Association meeting and shall be posted on CareMerge. We make that in form of a motion. Motion has been made and seconded. Another second. Are there any questions? If not, call the question. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes clearly have it. Jane, thank you very much.
Thanks so much to that committee. I mean, I know they said they met over 50 times to work on those details, and they are as good as they can be, I think, at this point. Next on our agenda is Sue Yarger. Sue's going to talk to us about the Green Team.
Okay, with the efforts of both the staff and the residents here at Glen Eyre, we just become greener every day, and that's good news. Now, please check out the Go Green listing under CareMerge. This is a new listing under CareMerge. Click away for guidance on recycling and composting, what we can recycle and compost, and what is not acceptable. Note the efforts that the dining staff makes for sustainability every day, and you'll find a lot more in the headings. You just click on the top heading, and it'll take you to the pertinent information. And we do this all with thanks to Allison for her diligence in posting Go Green. Now today you will find fresh information for recycling plastic along with plastic bags at the nearest grocery store. And you know, Food Lion is just a block away. If you carefully look at this, you'll see that there's a lot that we can recycle in addition to the plastic bags. And one of the items is this bubble wrap that comes out with Amazon. We do need to cut out the paper and then it goes right in with the plastic recycling, along with bread wrap and a number of other items that are all on this sheet, along with a few other sources for recycling. Hang on to this. Keep it handy where you can refer to it. And today, the green team has placed a suggestion box at the front desk. Over the next 2 weeks, please drop in your suggestions for lowering our cost while protecting our environment and our health. These are ideas that we want to hear from you, the green team, come probably St. Patrick's Day, because that's a green day. We'll open the box and make note of all of your suggestions and then give this information back to you. So that is now a new box there right next to Libby's office. Thank you all for going green.
Jerry Letchworth said earlier today that it was cold enough in here to kill hogs. And some of you may be a little chilly now. I think there's some Afghans in the back in one of those chests if you really need some to warm up. You have to be from a farm to know what that means. I'd like to say at this time that Martha Glass has been manning our box outside in the rotunda, and I'm going to ask her to, you've already got it. I hope you've registered for the door prize, and I just wanted to be sure, Martha, we had it close by. I've still got Art Cooper to speak before we do that. So I just wonder, I didn't know you were sitting back there. I thought you were still outside. Anyway, it's a great prize, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, next, Art is going to be talking to us about the NORCRA issue.
Thanks, Jane. Virtually everybody in this room knows what NORCRA is, but for those small number who don't, it's the North Carolina Continuing Care Residents Association. It's the organization that represents the interests of the residents of continuing care communities. We've been kind of dormant for the last few months, but we have had some action in the last week. The annual, the first item is the annual Eastern Regional Meeting. Will be on Tuesday, the 18th of April at the Forest at Duke. That's always a very good meeting. The details of it will be outlined in the March issue of the Hotline, which all of you will be getting in just a few days. I've reserved a bus within a few days. I'm going to ask CJ to put the trip on CareBird as so you can reserve a seat. Now, probably the most important piece of news is the introduction of the statute, of the proposed revision of the statute that governs continuing care retirement communities. The bill was introduced in the legislature late last week. It was introduced into both the House and Senate insurance committees. The principal sponsors are both the chairman of the insurance committees. And knowing that suggests that the legislature is going to take the bill seriously. Those of you who get emails from me have gotten a copy of the summary of the bill. And if you want to see the real honest-to-goodness wording, you can get it by going to the legislature's website and typing in one of the bill numbers. The original statute was only 16 pages long. The new version is 57 pages, which, you can say that's good or you can say it's bad. My guess is that a good part of the reason for that is that the Department of Insurance incorporated its regulations into the statute. they have, of course, a separate set of standing regulations, and I think they incorporate most of them in the statute. The other issue that's of interest to us is the sales tax matter. And there have been no tangible action on it, but last Friday our Norcron leading aides and Norco lobbyists got together to discuss the strategy, how to try to deal with the issue in the legislature again. There have been about as many plans as you can imagine since it's been up since for the last 3 years. Norcra makes one final request, and that is that residents continue to take no action regarding this issue. If the people managing this effort, I ever believe that it's important for us to communicate with the legislature, they'll give us the word to do it. Thank you.
Okay, Martha, now we can get we'll draw for the door prize, and Mary Kay is going to be here to draw the winning name of the person who's going to get their home deep cleaned very soon by a team from EBS. Judy Carty. Judy is a fairly new resident in 1000 building. You see her walking her dog all around. Thank y'all for being here. Mary Kay and Willie are excited about this opportunity. I know they're going to have their team of folks to go to Judy's apartment and clean it from top to bottom, move furniture, wash windows, and so forth. So we're excited about that, and thank you all for offering that. That was really sweet of you to do that. We'll be asking other departments for help as we go along. Now the staff reports will begin with the wellness department and move on to Mike and Tom and Ben, and I'm just going to go sit down.
Good morning. All right, so I'm just going to give you guys a little update on some things that are going this month. First of all, we don't have a slide. We have 1 month until our G5K, so if you haven't signed up, now's a great time to sign up. And it's also going to be CJ's birthday when we have G5K, so what better way than to, and David, man, so, it's a great way to celebrate. We have some really fun events coming up to highlight the Glen. So we're going to have tea 2 of the Tuesdays in March. We are also having a flower arranging class. And all this information is in the gleanings. And then I just wanted to give you a reminder that our March birthday party is on Friday, and this is open to everybody, so I hope you all will be there. We'll have cake and ice cream just like last time. It's going to be fun, so I hope to see you guys there. And just a reminder to check your gleanings, because we do have a lot of fun things coming up this month. And that's it. Thank you, guys.
Good morning, everybody. That picture is me if I had hair. First, a couple of introductions. I think a lot of you have already met Oscar. We do have a new executive chef. We are starting his 3rd week this week. It's Oscar Gnappi. Oscar is actually originally from France. He's worked all over Europe. He's worked all over the U.S. So if you see him around, say hello to him. And then also, and I think most of you know Carlos, and that was the best and most straightforward picture he would allow me to have. Carlos started here for some support with us when Brian left and then Stan retired, and we've actually been able to work out that Carlos is going to stay on as well as our executive sous chef. So yeah, we're super excited to have him and have them both. Having the two of them there really gives us a great core culinary team that we can build off of, both in the future and currently right now. So, all right, then we'll talk about some other stuff that's been coming up. So I want to talk about standing reservations and reservations in general. So we know, and we've heard from everyone, we know that the system isn't working properly. It's not being fair to everyone. I would like to point out that there are still reservations on almost every night at 6:15 or 6:30. I know that's not everybody's preferred time, but there are reservations there. We've heard that sometimes people feel rushed if they come in later, so we have talked with the staff and re-educated them that you can come in later and you're not going to feel rushed out. All that being said, we know that the standing reservations in particular are not working as everybody would like them and as they've been intended. So we are going to make a modification to that. When we put that information out, we want to make sure that we have a plan that's well thought out, that we have some structure around that we can relay all that information to you and that you understand it. So we have some meetings with some technology partners that may be able to help with us, and we're really thinking through the process. So know that we are going to make a change to that. We don't have a definitive date on that yet. Again, we want to make sure that everything is lined up, that our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed before we do it. But we did want to address and let you know we hear you, and we're working to rectify that situation. If I can rectify the clicker, we'll be in business. Okay. Then I want to talk about guest meals and points. So, originally the not being able to use your points on holidays, that came from the holidays being when there was a lot of guests in here. A lot of people were coming in, and that was kind of the basis behind that. And we also know that we've confused a lot of you, and that it's been confusing of what counts and what days and everything else. So we're going to streamline that. We're going to make it super easy for everyone. The new system, and this is going to go into effect April 1st, so you'll see some more information on Care Merge, some more things posted for this. But starting April 1st, you can use your points for guests any day of the meal, or any day of the year. It doesn't matter. Holidays, non-holidays, buffets, non-buffets. You're going to allow to have 4 guests per meal per unit. So if there's 2 of you that are in a unit, it's still only 4 guests per meal period. There was some, when we initially talked about this, I think there was some confusion that it was 4 guests per month or 4 guests per day and all that. So it will be 4 guests per meal period. Anybody who's above that, it will go on your bill as a guest charge, but we felt that this was the easiest and most consistent way to just kind of do a blanket statement for your guests that, hey, you can use them any day of the year. So those are a couple things that are going on for me. And now I think we're on to Tom. So thank you, everybody.
All right, good morning. Hope everyone's doing well. I just have a few project updates for you this morning. We're wrapping up a few projects and also have some upcoming. So, corridor project, we had our final furniture delivery yesterday. I'm sure you all noticed that. It was a pretty good amount. The only thing left there is we have some artwork that will be coming for the first floor of the 3,000 apartment building. So it's a little bare on that level. That will be here in April. You may have seen this lovely apparatus in some of the lounges in the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 apartment buildings. Those have been removed. Staff will access these when we have events that require additional seating and tables and whatnot. So when you have a room booking that's exceeds kind of the lounge space or the capacity of the lounges, they'll get this out and put away, not in the lounge. We started some work on Gladys's Path last week. That's receiving a hard surface or crushed gravel. Think kind of the bocce court, the bocce ball court. That surface will look a lot like that. It will start from the curb between 1,000 and 2,000 buildings and go all the way up to the bridge. So that's exciting. Let's see. We have some AV enhancements on the way, hopefully in April. That will allow for audio and visual outside of the auditorium, like we have overflow. If you can imagine an event where we surpass seating capacity in the auditorium, and folks are sitting out in the rotunda. So anyway, when we have events like today, you could be in the Glen enjoying coffee or being in the rotunda. We'll have new screens there as well. We're installing some new water fountains with bottle fill capabilities at the community center, the marketing offices, down by East and skilled nursing, in that main corridor, and then down by the locker rooms as well. We have a streetscape and landscaping project that started in May. This will be pretty extensive. We'll span from the 120 building all the way down to the health center. We'll include irrigation and a lot of plantings, as well as the 4,000 circle. So significant improvements coming there. Let's see. Just one note. This is kind of a shameless plug for Suzette's talks tomorrow at 3 p.m. Ben and I are going to stop in and talk through some assisted living changes. So, made some changes to the service model in assisted living, and also kind of preview a potential renovation project. So if you can stop in for Suzette's talk tomorrow at 3, be glad to have you. I'll turn it over to Ben. Thanks.
All right, good morning, everybody. It's good to see y'all. And happy last few days of February. Want to draw your attention to the back of the room where we have a new member of our team, Luke Childs. Everybody welcome Luke. There you go. So y'all have read about Luke and probably seen Luke around and maybe been introduced to him in a meeting or two. Luke is our new healthcare administrator, so just to remind you all, Luke is sort of taking over a lot of the responsibilities that Tom was doing with managing our healthcare center, and Tom is starting to shift into his new role with the same title as Associate Executive Director, and will be taking on a lot of the front of house service areas like environmental services and dining and those sorts of things. So that transition is happening right now. Luke is doing great. We're happy that he's here, and if you get a chance to talk to him after the meeting, I encourage you to do so. So the next thing is a big announcement for us and something we're really excited about. It's been 30 years since Glen Air opened. So we are celebrating all year this year our 30th anniversary. The technical anniversary is in July, but we will be celebrating throughout the year and trying to split that effort up into two parts. So the first part is, of course, party planning. And so Hannah, back in the booth, is leading that charge with a few other folks and scheduling different celebrations throughout the year. And then we have a group that is led by Suzette that is putting together historical presentations about Glen Air and about some of the groups that sort of helped Glen Air to come into being. So keep an eye out on the gleanings as the year goes forward for those celebrations as the year goes on. Next thing is about surveys. So I mentioned this in our last meeting last month, but wanted to give you all some more information. So we talked about, in the past, we've used a company called Hollerin to do all of our surveys, and we've done those about every 2 to 3 years historically, and we do all residents at one time. And so we've decided to change things up a little bit this year with how we do our survey activity. So we will be using a company called We Care Connect. And we have used We Care Connect for our employee satisfaction surveys for a few years. And are going to try using We Care Connect this year to see how it goes. A few of the major differences between Hollerin and We Care is, first, they are not anonymous surveys. And so there was a little bit of trepidation about that in the beginning, but we've talked to a few other folks that have used We Care for resident surveys, and said that wasn't much of an issue, really, that, at least not in their observation. And it was actually helpful because sometimes you'll receive a comment in the Hollerin surveys, and it's just there's something in there that you're like, I need to respond to this. I need to know who that was, and you just don't know who it is. So there's nothing you can do about that. The other thing that's different about We Care Connect versus Hollerin is that we're not going to do everybody at the same time. So we're going to split up the surveys into quarterly surveys based on the month of your anniversary moving into Glen Eyre. So you will get a survey for a quarter if your annual move-in anniversary is during that quarter. And we have all that information, so you don't have to worry about that. But you will get a survey if your anniversary falls in that quarter. And the thought process there is that rather than doing one survey every 2 or 3 years and getting a finger on the pulse of what y'all are thinking, this gives us the ability to give surveys more regularly throughout the year to see what's on your mind, what folks are focused on, and helps us with our quality assurance activities. So we're anxious to see how that goes. We think it'll go well. You will start to see more information about this in March. So we need to send out forms to all of you to fill out information, your desired method of contact. So these will not come out like Hollerin did in a paper copy. You're going to tell us how you prefer to receive your survey. It can come to you through email, and you can fill it out online, or they can call you, and one of their representatives can talk you through the survey. Or it can come through text. And I have not tried the text feature yet, but I'm anxious to see how that works. There is a feature for folks who need help to elect to have a family member or a responsible party be a part of the process. We don't see that being used too much by our independent living residents, but it's there in the event that somebody needs it. So we're planning on starting the first quarter of surveys at the beginning of April. And so be on the lookout for more information. But I've been getting questions for the last few months about, when are we going to do our next survey? We had talked about potentially doing one last year, but we were still very much in the end stages of the pandemic and felt like the data would be kind of skewed based on that. So it's time for us to do this, and we're excited to be doing that. I would just also mention, too, I think that your floor representatives might have mentioned this in the last day or two, but now that the corridor renovation is done, the Buildings and Grounds Committee has created a form for you to give feedback about the corridor renovations. So if you haven't received one of those yet, you will. And there will be a box at the front desk to put those forms for feedback about the corridor renovation work that's been done. And you heard a little bit earlier about the green team and their efforts to solicit some feedback about ways that we can be more green. So just lots of feedback coming in, which is a good thing. Okay, I've been told there is increased questions about the shuttle service, and particularly I think this came up in the dining committee meeting about how are we going to get around? How am I going to get to the expansion to go enjoy the Highlands, the multi-station venue there? So here's a little bit of a sneak peek into this. You can see on the photo here, this is called a Polaris Gem car, and there are 2 of these bad boys on their way to Glen Eyre in the next few months. So these are electric vehicles. If you've spent much time at the beach in North Carolina, you've probably seen a few of these already. They are street legal golf carts, and they can come with a lot of customizable features, such as doors and even air conditioning and heating. So I used these way back when up in Illinois for our marketing team to get folks around our community for tours during the winter time when it's not great to be driving around in a golf cart. And they work pretty well. So we envision these being the primary mode of transportation for our shuttle service, although we plan to purchase another small to medium-sized bus. So if we find ourselves around mealtime with increased need for getting folks around, we can sort of level up to a larger vehicle if we need to do that. Let me just toggle back and forth from side to slide. This is an updated campus map. It's still in a draft form, but this will be in some of our materials like our handbook as we move forward. You can see around some of the entrances to the buildings, there's little white rectangles. Those are changing in color and shape, but those are meant to identify the pickup and drop-off locations of the shuttles. So you can see most all of the main entrances to the buildings would be part of that. The thought process is that we will leverage the same technology that we use for pendants when you push your pendant to summon the shuttle. So we can set it up where there's a doorbell or some sort of a device like a doorbell at these pickup and drop-off locations where if you want to summon the shuttle, you walk up and push the button, and whoever's driving the shuttle receives an alert that there's somebody at the door of the 3000 building that wants a ride. And then that person driving the shuttle will come over and pick you up. You'll notice that there are no pickup and drop-off locations in the Wheelock Loop. Yeah, you might be concerned about that. Thought we forgot about you, didn't we? We did not forget about you. We talked quite a bit about, how do we get folks picked up and dropped off from the Wheelock Loop? Do we build a little bus station or something like that? We said, I don't think they're gonna go for that. So the idea there is we'll probably put a pendant or one of these buttons in each of the cottages so that folks can buzz straight from their cottage. There will be a button at the 120 building, which you can kind of see faintly there. So the thought is that it will not run on sort of a loop system where, they're going to drive around and if, regardless of whether there's someone waiting or not, we think that it's going to work better where folks are going to be summoning the shuttle and they're going to just come right over there and pick you up and bring you where you want to go. But those are the best laid plans, and we'll see how it goes when we get there. The staffing model has shuttle drivers for over 12 hours a day. So for this to work the way it needs to, there needs to be a lot of availability. So it starts from before breakfast and ends after dinner. So lots of service time for the shuttle. There is some desire, once we get up and running and get our feet under us, to be able to extend this service to be able to drop you off and pick you up in downtown Cary as well, which is only about a quarter mile down the road. So we think that'll be a nice amenity for folks that are living here. So that's a little bit about the shuttle. The next thing, if you can see, this is an overhead site plan that highlights the crosswalk. So I'm going to walk back here real quick and point it out, and then I'll come back. Yeah, so this is not a great image of the crosswalk, but it's the best one I've got right now. The idea is that this is sort of in the island between the townhome community and the main entrance of the expansion, so the driveway of the expansion. There's an area there that's probably about 25 feet wide. So I think the The cottage that's right there on the other side is Bill Smith's cottage, if I'm not mistaken, or they're close by. So the crosswalk will be on top of a large speed hump. So the speed hump will slow traffic down. You would walk across the crosswalk on top of the speed hump. They will also be moving the street light that is a little bit down towards the main entrance of Glen Eyre, closer to that crosswalk, so that the crosswalk is lit better. We would have liked for them to put in a blinking light. They have not said no in perpetuity, but they did say that they need to have the crosswalk built and do more studies before they will agree to putting in a blinking light by the crosswalk. So that's the information that we have right now about the crosswalk. Feel like that will be an important amenity for y'all to be able to easily get across the street in a safe way. Would have preferred it not be a speed hump, personally, but I think the speed hump will be just fine. Okay. Few more things real quickly before wrapping up. The first one is the resident photo directory. So you all got a copy of the resident photo directory with a letter on the front of it. So first of all, I want to say thank you to Roy Dixon. Is Roy? There he is. Everybody say thank you to Roy. And to Dell, who's kind of been carrying it along here. So Roy got this whole directory started years and years ago. What year was that, Roy? Can't even remember. It's been a long time. So possibly the most important tool that anybody has inside of a CCRC is a photo directory, right? How many times have y'all picked that up and said, I keep passing that person and I can't read their name tag fast enough. I need to go figure out who that was. So it's a very useful tool that was created years and years ago. And then we started to use CareMerge for other things, but CareMerge amongst those things starts to have a directory built into it. And frankly, I think it was a few weeks after getting here, there was already conversation going about, when do we start transitioning over from the directory we have been using to CareMerge. And frankly, CareMerge wasn't as good as it needed to be at that point to take that over. There's a few issues with size of photos and some other things. And so we've been working with CareMerge over the last few years to try to correct those issues. And we've gotten to a point now where it's basically time to move on to using CareMerge. CareMerge is the most up-to-date repository of information now. So we have printed out the resident photo directories on a quarterly basis, which is a lot of printing. And once we print that out, within days, the information inside the directory is not accurate anymore. So the CareMerge information that's in CareMerge is the most up-to-date information about who is here and what their contact information is. And also has links to reach out to people directly. You can push a button and it will just call them from your phone. Now that's all great if you're using CareMerge on your computer or your phone. But if you don't like using those things on your computer or phone, or don't use them and want to have a paper copy in front of you to flip through, you might feel like, this isn't a great change for me. But I want to really drive home here that while we are making this change, and we're not going to print out a copy for every resident 4 times a year, anytime any resident wants a printed out version of the directory, we will give you one. So there will be printed copies of the directory available. They're not right now because we just gave you all one a few weeks ago. but anytime a resident requests a copy of a printed paper directory, we will give you one. But we're not going to print one out for every resident 4 times a year, quarterly. So that's the story behind the directory. Hope that information helps a little bit. Want to do a couple quick plugs here. So Suzette's in the back of the room and Larry Yarger was up earlier. Been working really hard for Rise Against Hunger, which is coming up, and some exciting news. Just yesterday they met their fundraising goal. So that's some great news with the help, I think, of a lot of folks, but also 2 Rotary clubs from the town of Cary. Cary has, I think, 8 Rotary clubs, and 2 in particular have been very helpful in the fundraising efforts for Rise Against Hunger. So great news there. Tom mentioned that him and I are hijacking Suzette's talk tomorrow to talk about some plans in assisted living. I will just mention also that any resident is welcome to attend that talk tomorrow. We're having the same talk next week on Tuesday afternoon, I believe, and inviting assisted living families to come to that presentation as well. So we're excited about that. And then finally, I am trying to spend some more time here in the evening. And so one thing that I would have normally done if I had gotten here without the pandemic going on is spending more one-on-one time with residents to get to know them better. So I am tardy in doing this, but I am going to start a series of dinners in the Dunham. And the purpose of that is just to get to know each other better, and for me to hear from you about your experience at Glen Eyre and things that you think are great and we shouldn't change, or things that aren't great and should be changed. So Livy has a sign-up sheet. The first dinner is tomorrow evening, so I can accommodate up to 5 people. So the first ones get to Livy's desk get to sign up. Not that I think that's going to happen, but and the reservation time will be at 6:15. Right? Who's paying? Whoever's coming. Nah. I know you have points left over, Harriet. Yeah. So the time is intentional, not because I want to drag you all out at 6:15. The time is intentional for me to spend time in the dining room at 6:15. So I've been hearing from folks that you feel rushed out of the dining room. I need to sit there with y'all at that time and experience it myself. So, and show of hands, who ate at 5 o'clock before they moved into Glen Eyre? Just a handful of folks. So it's 6:15 is fine. Okay, that's all I've got. Thank you for your time. If it's all right, we'll do questions and answers. Yes. Wait for a microphone, Harriet. Up here, Del.
Hello? With your buses that are the shuttles, how long is the charge time? And will it accommodate walkers? The charge time on the electric.
The charge time on the electric vehicle, talking to the manufacturer, we feel like one should last the majority of the 12 hours. And we'll see once we get there how that works. But we'll have 2. And I don't see 2 being in rotation at the same time all day. So we'll be able to sub them out if we need to do that. And then walkers, yes, so you couldn't see in that photo, but they sell a variety of cabs, I guess, on the back. So there will be a platform on the back where we can put a walker in it.
Can you speak to what's going on with security? As far as Kevin's leaving, and what are the plans for
more security, less.
Yeah. So Kevin is leaving. I talked to Kevin yesterday, and he told me that he is retiring again. Yeah, so he told me that when he started working here, probably almost 10 years ago, he was planning on working 20 hours a week and being semi-retired, and said he would retire again by the time he was 70. And so I think he's got 6 months left. So obviously we'll miss Kevin around here, and so he's done a great job. We are hiring to replace obviously those hours. We are sort of evaluating taking some next steps with one of the full-time employees in the expansion staffing model, which is sort of meant to create a little bit more, create some more leadership over security and front desk operation, and whether now's the time to just go ahead and bite the bullet and start hiring for that position. So to answer your question, we're hiring. So if y'all know anybody who loves security, send them our way. We are not going to be expanding security hours right now in terms of just overall coverage of security. But when the expansion comes along, probably sometime this summer, we're not going to try to lay our existing security over now both parts of campus. So effectively doubles our security coverage with the expansion staffing model. And that'll have to start at some point this summer when the fence goes down with the expansion and when Bloom stops being on site and having their security team. So that'll happen at some point this summer. Good question. Other questions? I know you've got them. Oh, here we go.
Ben, is there any chance that we can get just parking on one side of Cornwall? Right now, there's parking on both sides, and that really complicates things with the crossing.
Yeah, that's sort of changed since about a year ago now, where the townhome folks have kind of raised a little bit of a stink about cars being parked on both sides of the street. So the town came out and put some no parking signs on their side of the street. But their residents have now decided to game that system and park on either end, which kind of creates a little bit of a go-between. I think what we've said, Paul, is that we're going to hang on to what relationship capital we have with the town until we open and kind of see what the traffic pattern feels like at that time before going at them too hard to make modifications right now. But I do anticipate once the building's open and we're starting to use driveways, we'll probably go to the town and ask for some sort of an adjustment to how that area is going to work. And did you have a question?
The new crosswalk is where people are now currently parking. And that big box truck that's always parked there. It's going to be hard for cars to see people starting to come across the crosswalk.
Yeah, and so you're right. That crosswalk will impact that area. Functionally, with all the traffic that's going to be from Kildare Farms Road almost down to the main entrance of Glen Eyre, being able to park on that street is going to be really impractical.
How many people will the shuttle accommodate?
So it is a 6-seat shuttle. Each one of those GEM cars is a 6-seater. So, again, we'll see how that goes in terms of, I think for the most part during the day that'll work to get people around, but it's possible around meal times we need to sub it out for one of the smaller buses to get folks around.
An issue about parking at meal times when people from the new side of campus may want to come over and it's raining and the people in cottages can't park there because somebody else got there. So it's just an issue
Yeah, so parking on campus, one of the big reasons why we're doing the shuttle service is because driving cars around campus to get where you're going isn't going to work, just to be really blunt. There's not going to be enough parking for folks to be able to hop in their car and drive around to get to where they need to go. So the shuttle is being put into service to help that issue, and us investing in putting technology out in each cottage is there to create a reasonable solution for folks where you're not, when it's raining outside, we're not asking you to run up to a little bus stop on the street, right? So we'll bring the shuttle right to you to pick you up, and yeah.
Could you address the colored parking stickers you mentioned at council?
So we are evaluating new parking stickers. So a lot of you that have been here longer, your parking sticker that used to be white is no longer white. And parking, frankly, is going to be one of the largest challenges that we have as an administrative team on campus. So we need to be able to go around and at a glance see if a car is parked where it's supposed to be. And I think the shuttle service will be helpful in that because they're going to be driving around campus all day, and while they're driving around, they can monitor for parking where it needs to be. So we brought a couple of color options to council last week to get some feedback about different colors. There are, I know some folks don't feel like it, there are advantages to being on the resident council. I'm not going to ask you all what color parking stickers you want, but I will ask the 20 people on the resident council what colors they like. So the idea is that residents will have a certain colored sticker, and employees will have a certain color sticker. And there will be a little box at the front of a parking space that has that color in it, so that when you're driving around, you can see a blue spot is a resident spot. I can park there. And employees, seems like it'll probably be either yellow or orange. We'll have a yellow or orange colored sticker, and we'll see a yellow or orange spot, know that they can park there. But our security and transportation team can also drive around and see yellow sticker, yellow square, we're good to go. So that's kind of what we're working on.
Then, two questions. First of all, is there an additional cost for installing the call a shuttle from each of the cottages? And secondly, if there is, could there be at least 2 call the shuttles within each of the apartment buildings?
There is a cost to us to install that technology, an incremental cost for each of those devices that summons a shuttle. If you have suggestions about other locations for those devices, just come see me after the meeting. We're not going to charge y'all individually for those devices. Just want to make that clear. Other questions? Okay, thanks everybody.
This has been a great meeting. Thank you all for being patient. We're just a little over here, and we'll all go run around and get warm. Thank you so much. Great meeting.